Welcome to today's webinar, Discover How to Create Your Own Digital Content and Grow Your Online Programs, brought to you by Simple K-12. My name is Lori. I'm here with Tammy Eckert, and we are so excited to have all of you here with us today. Now, this webinar is brought to you free today thanks to our sponsor, SoftChalk. SoftChalk content authoring and hosting solutions are critical to the success of e-learning initiatives, providing educators an easy, affordable way to create, organize, and share interactive content that engages students and inspires learning. Lesson content can be delivered in an LMS, on a web server, mobile devices, or in the cloud. Also, for those of you who are joining us live, I just went ahead and sent out a tweet from our Twitter account. Now, you can feel free to retweet to your followers. You can invite them to attend today's session that is free and open to the public. Thanks to our friends at SoftChalk. Just be sure to include this link as well as the hashtag SK12 when you send out your tweet. Once again, we do have that live back channel chat open. Great place for you all as attendees to take notes and chat with one another. I went ahead and shared that link out via that GoToWebinars chat box, and I'll go ahead and reshare that in just a moment. And we will have some time at the end of our session for some live Q&A with Tammy. Feel free to submit your questions through that questions box of GoToWebinar. Now, it does tend to auto-collapse, but if you click on that orange arrow, the question box will open, and you can type in your question. Now, a little bit about our presenter. Tammy Eckert is currently the Supervisor of Instructional Development with Georgia Virtual School, where she has experience developing courses for their middle school math curriculum. Now, prior to Georgia Virtual, Tammy taught for 4 years in a traditional classroom and was a course instructor and developer for the Gwinnett online program. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today, Tammy. Thanks for joining us.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks so much.
I'm going to go ahead and pass the screen to you, so you should see that pop up.
All right, and we're going to get this started then. All right, hopefully you can see things now. Are we good?
Looks great.
Okay. All right, so we are going to talk a little bit about creating your own digital content. And I want to apologize. I've had a really bad cold. I'm going to try really hard not to cough. So I apologize for the hoarse voice that I have. I'm going to let you know, though, that with me, it's not just me. I am the Supervisor of Instructional Development with Georgia Virtual School, and I have with me 3 of my development specialists. So I have Courtney Perrin, Wendy Williams, and Stephanie Brooks, who are all going to walk you through a little tour of some of their course modules as we get a little further in the presentation. So you're going to hear from all sorts of people today. Now I'm going to start with giving you a little bit of background about Georgia Virtual School so that this you have a frame of reference for what we're going to talk about today. We develop our courses, and they're exclusively open educational resources. So we use OER to create our courses, and that started in 2011 when we developed our courses. Last year we had 24,000 enrollments at Georgia Virtual School, and this year we're looking at about 31,500 enrollments at the end of the summer term. So we're thrilled with the growth that we've had with our program, and our little group of folks that I'm going to talk about now develop the courses. We currently have about 115 courses. That number is constantly changing. As we wrap up development for this year, we'll be adding a few more to that list. And that includes core courses. We have electives like AP Art History and AP Music Theory, as well as a lot of world languages. We're wrapping up development of Chinese 3 and 4 this year, and we have Japanese, plus some of the ones that you would be familiar with, your Spanish, German, French, and Latin as well. So we have a wide arrangement, or a wide variety of courses. Back there in the back channel, if you're back there on the Titan pad, you can see a link to our Georgia Virtual School, Georgia Virtual Learning resources. And those courses that we've developed that are OER are available for anyone to look at, use in a blended flipped classroom. So please feel free to take a look back there, explore some of our content. We have just several classes back there that you'd be interested in looking at, and we'd love your feedback. Now, a little bit about our team specifically. Our development shop includes 6 instructional designers. Now, we call them development specialists, but that's basically what they are. And 5 of them are full-time, and we have 1 of them is part-time because she still works in a face-to-face school. We also have 2 ladies who work with us that are called development support staff. And what these ladies do, they're a little bit of the maintenance of our courses. When we need corrections or modifications done, they handle that, as well as work with some outside programs that we're going to spotlight when we build our courses. And they build what we call objects that we can incorporate into our modules and lessons so that enhances the delivery of the content. Now, each of these instructional designers or development specialists work on 3 to 4 projects a year. And when I say 3 to 4 projects, those are full 36-week courses. So by the end of our development year, it takes about 9 to 10 months to develop a course. We have somewhere around 30 courses. Some of those are only half-credit courses, but we're looking at somewhere between 25 and 30 courses at the end of each year. Some of those are new courses that perhaps were introduced by the state, and some of those are just refreshes of courses that we have established that are just in need of an update. New content and new links, all of that information to be added. Now, each of those instructional designers works closely with both a subject matter expert and what we call a curriculum reviewer. You may be familiar with the term SME, but that's the person that hunts out the OER content for us and writes some of the content, as well as builds the question libraries. The curriculum reviewer is responsible for making sure that each of the standards that's outlined by the state of Georgia is met in the course, and that the content is accurate and correct, and that the question library is correct. So that's how we run things, and I wanted you to understand that when you see some of our courses. It's not that we have a teacher that has the ability to build out all that you're going to see today, because we have this whole development shop, if you want to say that, that produces this material for our teachers. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about why we use SoftChalk, who's sponsoring the webinar today. But I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, and you can be typing that back there to Wendy if you'd like. But we have found that, first of all, SoftChalk is easy to use. One of the things that that led us to the decision to use SoftChalk was that we could use it outside of the LMS. We use Desire to Learn. We did build some courses in HTML inside of D2L. And the problem was, if for any reason we were to move from one LMS to another, making that jump, if everything is kind of entrenched in the LMS, is a hard thing to do. And with SoftChalk, we were able to use these as portable objects that we could link inside the course, but that we could use somewhere else. Now, I do want to tell you a little bit about Georgia Virtual School. We run our school, which is tuition-based, and we have modules for that. But we also have a credit recovery section of our school, which is the CR section, and a shared section, which is where I led you on the Georgia Virtual Learning site for the resources. And we also have a thing called eSource. So if any of you are out there from Georgia, we allow public schools in the state of Georgia to subscribe for free to download the material. Now, you have to be a public school in the state of Georgia. Otherwise, you have to use it off our site. But we are able to use these modules in all 4 places with very minor modifications and make it meet each of our needs. So we're really excited about the fact that it can do that. The other thing, if I've got any fellow math folks out there, SoftChalk is math friendly. There's an equation editor in there, and so you can make everything look pretty and very readable to the students, so you're not trying to explain why you used SQRT instead of square root, the symbol. So we're very impressed with the math functionality inside SoftChalk. The other thing is that it's customizable, and I think Wendy's going to talk a little bit about that you have the ability to modify templates and headers and footers and make some different things to your course to make it your very own. You can easily add media, and I know we're going to show you some media options inside these courses in just a few minutes. And the other thing is that it plays nicely with other programs, and that is another thing that we're going to highlight. We use both Articulate Engage and Storyline in combination with those items inside SoftChalk to build out courses that you can see. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to get out of this presentation, and we are going to move over to Courtney. Courtney's going to talk a little bit about U.S. history. So hopefully you can see this now, and I think Courtney's going to grab the mic and talk to you a little bit about the pieces of this U.S. history module.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Tammy. Yes, we're looking at U.S. history, but really we're kind of looking at SoftChalk as a whole more than anything else, because certainly some of these things can be done in any course that you use. Tammy talked to you just now, obviously, about the reasons why we picked SoftChalk. One of the things that she discussed was the whole customizable piece of it. If you look on the right side, you'll see the sidebars. And these are a great way to kind of do things for your course. You've got some standard ones within SoftChalk that you can use. But you also have at least one option that you can always customize and make your own thing. For us, we kind of set up things a certain way within our courses so all of our students will know where to find everything. With as many students as we have, they take multiple classes with us, so it's always kind of a good idea for us at least to keep some things about the same, so that way they can always know where to find it each and every time. But you'll also see up at the top of that where it says listen to the page. This is actually, Sammy talked about, everything works well with other programs. That is a read speaker access point for this. ReadSpeaker is a separate company, but it does work well with SoftChalk. SoftChalk has worked to integrate it within their packages. So if you do subscribe to ReadSpeaker, you have the option of having it have a play link above the page or over in the sidebar. We put ours in the sidebar to make it easier for students to access it, but it does exactly what it says, where it reads the page for the kids and goes through each of it with them. We're going to readdress ReadSpeaker a little bit in just a minute, and I'll talk to you about really kind of a cool feature. But one of the main things that I wanted to talk to you guys about was just different ways to integrate new ways to integrate some material within SoftChalk. SoftChalk gives you a lot of options. It is very easy to use. Its learning curve is pretty quick with it, and you have options to kind of create things in new ways. But you also can find ways to kind of make some tweaks and tricks and stuff to make it really work the way that you want it to work. So we're going to look at page 2 and see how we can do some things for this. One of the things that you can do within SoftChalk is obviously you can add images. And as Tammy's scrolling down the page, you see that there's a lot of text there for the students. And we're going to stop right where she is right now, where you see the 101 things. This was something that this particular teacher wanted to do. There were 101 different facts that we wanted to throw in that fit with the curriculum where they were talking about it, but wasn't such an easy way to just kind of throw it in. We wanted the kids to kind of see it. We wanted it to be kind of fun. So one of the things that you can do in SoftChalk is to highlight something is you create your own image in a separate program. That was actually made in Adobe InDesign. But we make things, PowerPoint is great for layering things and creating images. Microsoft Word you can do that with. If you're an Apple user, Pages is fantastic to do stuff like this. But we created our own separate image that then was inserted, and it shows up off to the side. And that way we can highlight text, make it show up in a new way that kind of grabs the student's attention. We've done this with quotes in the past, certain things that we wanted to pull out from the information that we have in there to kind of reinforce it. Any of those types of things work really well. Tammy will scroll down to the bottom. Again, giving visual interest to things, I could have just simply listed the Bill of Rights, but then the kids are just seeing the same kind of text and everything else. So what we did was try to find a way to make it, again, visually interesting to them, give them something to kind of spark their interest with it, and again, highlight the material. Find a way to kind of pull it out and make it work a little bit better. Now, I mentioned ReadSpeaker, and so we get back to it. Here's where we get to that. When you put in an image when you put in an image within SoftChalk, you have the option of putting in a description, and you can put in all of the text that lays in that image. So that way, when you use a screen reader assistive device for a student, or if you use something like ReadSpeaker, it will actually read what that image says. And it's kind of a great tool to do that. Let's look at page 3 and talk about text poppers a little bit. SoftChalk has an option to put in text poppers, and you can use them for a variety of different ways. You can use them to give definitions to words. You can give them to pop in some more of those 101 things that we have in there. So that way you have the option of throwing it in without having to find room for it on the page. I've used it in the past for having pronunciations. If you think about an online course, a lot of the students may not actually hear some of the words, depending on how you're presenting the material. They may never have heard the words before in their life, so it's great to quickly record an audio file and pop that into a text popper, because that can integrate nicely within it. But you can also use it, we use them for captions to keep them out of the way. Tammy can show you an example up at the top of the page with the portrait of Washington. All of our courses, as she mentioned, are OER, so we want to cite everything that we do, and that's a quick and non-obtrusive way to do that. But we also can use it for ways to expand upon their learning. And if she'll scroll down to the Wordle, what we've done is exactly that, where we've got the citation for what it is, but then it also gives the chance for the kids to explore the topic a little bit more, poses some questions for them to consider. Another way to put in more information to get them thinking, get them interacting within the course. And then we're going to look at page 4. And I know I'm kind of rushing through this, but we're really trying to give you just kind of a brief look at what all these things can do. And others may expand some more on some of this as well. But if we want to look at kind of a combination of how we can use text poppers and images, we talked about using them for ways to kind of pull information off to the side. And if you look at that page, there's a great map of the U.S. beneath, but I have another map that needs to go on that page. And sometimes when you just stack things, it doesn't work well. It becomes a little bit too overwhelming. So what you can do is create some sort of image, like we've got that closer look at the maps image, and then drop a text popper on it, which will allow me then to put the map in for the students to see and have them be able to access the information. This is also great if you have a limited size for an image and you want the kids to see a larger piece of it. You can put it in a text popper so it shows up larger. It's also great if you have, especially for history courses, what it looked like then versus what it looks like now. So you can have one image in one and one image in the other. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Wendy to talk to you more about how you can integrate different activities within SoftChalk.
I was going to say good afternoon, everybody, but looking at everybody's places that y'all are from, I don't know that we're all on the same time schedule. So good, whatever it is that you are, morning, afternoon, evening. I was the lucky one, and I know y'all think I'm crazy. I got Chinese to develop. So very much what Tammy is saying is true, that we do work with other people who are specialist in the field. My job is basically to put it together and make it look pretty, which SoftChalk makes it so easy to do. I love SoftChalk because I am a math person. I started out as math, and like Tammy said, it's amazing with, how it makes math so easily able to go in with the equations. And it does the same thing with, like, see these Chinese characters. There is nothing special that I have to do. I don't have to make these images or anything. SoftChalk has lots of fonts that it can read and pull in, and it can it just pulls these characters in so beautifully. We've not had any trouble with the translations getting skewed or anything. So what I'm going to show you, what I really enjoy with Chinese, is that I'm able to use iframes a lot, and SoftChalk does a great job with that. As Tammy is scrolling down, you're also going to see an inline audio. Oh, and there's that. Sorry, she has the control of that. Okay, here's my iframes. This is a storyline. I think Tammy was telling you that we use storyline. And so, like, she's going to click through it. I know you can't hear it. It's not going to let you hear. But this is an iframe from storyline. So I created this little object using a storyline software, and then pulled it into SoftChalk so nicely. And you'll notice it looks like it's just right on the page. It doesn't look stacked there or anything. It looks really good to me. So very clean. Thank you, SoftChalk, for that. You're going back up. There we go. And there's an inline player. Again, you can't hear it, but with world languages, it is so nice to have an inline player where the students can click and listen and hear the different languages being spoken, and it comes through very nicely. You can do these inline. They also give you the option to have them click out to hear the sound, or they can download it. So I always use inline. I like that option very much. All right, one other thing I'm going to show you, Tammy. I think it's page 2. Again, there's some tables on here with a lot of inline vocabulary learning. But if you keep on going down, Tammy, we'll show them some of the very, oh man, that's still not there. Some of the very interesting ways that SoftChalk lets you do inline questioning. So if you'll keep going, there you go. So this is a matching activity where the students can actually click on the audio, listen for the word, and then try to match it, which is a very cool tool to have so the students can practice this over and over and over again. That's one thing that I really liked about SoftChalk when I looked at it, was that it's able to put this inline audio in the questions. That's a very nice tool to have. All right, Tammy, I think page 4, and then we'll show them the footers and the headers. This is another example of an inline thing from SoftChalk. If you'll look at, this is a workbook, and basically these are images I made, or you can just use a PowerPoint presentation and save them as images, save the slides as images, and it pulls right in and it clicks and it looks like a little book that you're just flipping through. Very easy to create, but it looks so cool, and I think it really brings the kids in when they can interact. So that's something I really like about SoftChalk. And then if we'll go down, I'm trying to go fast, I'm sorry. Right here, if you look at the footer, the very bottom green part. Now this is something, when we're doing our Chinese course, and depending on what course you're doing, we, like Tammy said earlier, we are Creative Commons licensed, so we're able to put in our attribution at the bottom. That is our little symbol for, or it's the national symbol for Creative Commons. So we're able to put that in there and show that we are Creative Commons licensed. We also are able to, customize it. With my Chinese course, I work with KSU and the Confucius Institute, and so I'm able, as you can see, to put in that I'm working with them on this project, and also put in the images or their icons so that they can get credit for it too. So the footer and the header is also customizable as well. You can do different colors. You can put images in there. We choose just a nice clean slate. But it is very easy to customize those templates. And like Tammy said, we have a shared version of every course. We have a CR version. We have all different versions of the courses, and so we can use different templates. And those are very easy to apply. One last thing I wanted to show you, and Tammy, if you'll go to page 5. This is one of my very favorite tools in SoftChalk, because we know students sometimes will just scroll and scroll and scroll and forget or not do something. And so we do this thing called a module wrap-up, and you'll see it says, in this module you were responsible for completing blah, blah, blah. So say the student says, oh man, I didn't know I was supposed to do a quiz or a discussion. And so if they actually click on one of them, there's a bookmark. So if you click on discussion, it takes you to the page in that SoftChalk, straight to the discussion, so they can say, oh, there it is. There's that discussion that I was supposed to have done. And it takes them right back to it. So those bookmarks are really good tools for the students as well. I think that's all I've got, Tammy. So we can, unless y'all just want to look at Chinese some more, it is really interesting.
All right, then we're going to turn it over to our final presenter, who is Stephanie Brooks, who's going to talk to us about ancient Mesopotamia.
Yes, a little bit of that, as well as focusing on the inline activities that SoftChalk offers. we are fortunate, as Tammy's mentioned, to be able to use some different types of self-assessment presentation activities with the children that we teach and the high school kids that we are able to offer courses to. Starting on page 3, we have some inline activities that SoftChalk has. And it's in nothing that we pulled in from the outside. You have a lot of choices, actually. I think that it's the best way to get the kids involved is they're not just doing reading. This is flashcard, and you click on show. At the top it has the title, Mount Zion, and then when you click show, you can display an image, or you can just have text, or you can have both like I have here. And as you arrow through, there are 6 of these. This is a good way, like any flashcards are. I know I use flashcards even in college to study and review information, as well as just kind of a neat presentation tool. So flashcard, I think that looks clean. I like it. I like being able to use the image, and the text limitation is not too short on that. You can put a pretty good description there next to the image. Towards the bottom of the page, there's a photo album inline activity that I really like. It's kind of cute with the notebook-looking binder on the left, and the images are a lot larger. So it's a photo album for a reason when you want to focus on the image a little bit more than the text. It does give you an opportunity to enter some text, and it's not just a few words. You can enter sentence paragraphs like you see, and students just click on the right and it turns the page for them, and even gives that illusion of an actual page turning. So this is a good presentation tool, and they're very quick and easy to make. That's one big compliment to SoftChalk on these types of activities is you just insert the activity and choose the type, and you can go for it and have one made in 5 minutes or less, depending on how many images you need to download. I have a few more inline activities to share with you. On page 6 of this module, there are 4 other types of images I was going to show you. The top one, I like it a little bit. Some people probably don't like the color, but with this particular one, I think for the 7th grade, that this was targeted towards the color is a good thing. And it's just a tabbed object, much like any kind of presentation you might do, but the student's responsible for rolling over each tab, and when they do that, they are able to view a new image and a description. The image is small. It's probably not the best presentation for if you want the focus to really be on the image, like a map or something like that. But if you just kind of want to tie something together and make it a little more pleasing to the eye, it's a good presentation there. I also have some activities. The ones we've showed you, besides the flashcards, you can test yourself if you're using them. Some other activities that SoftChalk have include self-assessment type of activities, and I think those are very important when we're creating a course. Students test themselves along the way before they take the actual test. And this is an ordering activity, and it's just got a list of items that occurred in the world in history of the Middle East. And if, as you drag it over, if it's not correct, it basically won't let you put it there. But if it is correct, it'll just pop right in, just like you saw that one do, into the box. And that's how you know if you've got it right or wrong. So you can basically keep doing it until you get it correct, which I think is the important thing for the self-assessment activities. And scrolling down a little bit more, we've got, these are just questions. It's called Did You Know activity in SoftChalk, and so it has the question. You click on Show Answer, and boom, just kind of like a flashcard, but they're individual. And again, like Wendy was saying about, it was nice to insert the audio in those activities. It's nice you have a lot of options to insert images, which I think just catches the students' attention more. So all of these questions have images to go along with them. And this is a good review right before their module test that they'll be taking at the end of the module. I believe I have one more activity at the bottom. It's a labeling activity. And this works, obviously, a map is a good thing to do. You just drag the box to the area that you're labeling and release the mouse, and it like in the ordering activity. If it's correct, it will let you leave it there. If it's not, it'll pop back to the list. This is a better activity to not have too many things to label. I think this is a good number. I think there are 5 items to label on this list, and because the image is not huge, but you can have a larger image, and but it's still, you see the box parameters there. As you use SoftChalk, I just recommend you explore and check out all the activities, and even if it seems, obvious drag and drop or questions, explore a little further and find out if you can insert an image or an audio file that might even help the students more. And that is all I have for the inline activities.
All right, so we got to give you a little bit of background about what we do at Georgia Virtual School, how we do it, how we build our courses. We've given you access to the shared courses that we have there on our Georgia Virtual Learning site. If you need that link, if you're not on the back channel Titan Pad, let me know, and I'm sure we can get that put in the chat box. But we also gave you a chance to see some different courses and different activities and different programs that we use to build out our courses. So I think at this point I'm going to turn it back over and we can get some questions answered.
Okay, great. Tammy, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. I'll give you just a couple of moments to catch your breath, and then we'll take some Q&A from our attendees. So I'll go ahead and pull the screen back here. So if you do have a question for Tammy, please feel free to submit it now through that questions box of GoToWebinar. We'll have a few minutes here to do some live Q&A. This webinar has been brought to you free today thanks to our sponsor, SoftChalk. SoftChalk Cloud offers content authoring and hosting solutions that allow educators to create their own digital curriculum, providing them with an easy, fast, affordable way to create, manage, and share rich interactive content that engages students in the learning process and inspires learning. Lesson content is web-based and can be delivered in almost any learning management system, content management system, or on a web server, as well as on mobile devices or in the cloud, anywhere for just-in-time learning. And I also want to take a moment to pop back into the teacher learning community here at simpleK12.com, share with you where you can find some additional resources if you'd like to learn more. Underneath our courses tab, a great place to start, we underneath our link for blended learning. Some fabulous on-demand webinar recordings there. So if you're looking for some additional resources, wanting to learn more, lots of great information at simpleK12.com. All right, Tammy, let me go ahead and get your contact information up here on my screen. Did have a question come in from Wangxi. What if the students in an online course memorized the answers and did not learn? Do you have strategies to prevent this?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you really quickly, what you saw on there are just self-assessment activities. They're really just to see if they know. We have built into our LMS discussions that they need to do. They need to participate with other students in their class. They have tests. They have projects. So we have all sorts of assessment ways to do things. The SoftChalk activities and the other activities that you saw are really for them to just kind of gauge on their own how they're doing. And so I was going to mention that it is possible for you to use those activities as graded assignments. We choose not to do that, but you can incorporate that with a SCORM package into your gradebook in your LMS. So I think that kind of answered the question. But because obviously they can memorize the activities just like you saw me doing. I'm a math teacher. I was not good at those social studies activities, but they could certainly memorize that. But we have all sorts of assessments that we use with them to make sure that they really understand the material.
Okay, great. Our next question came in from Melissa. She said, what LMS are you using?
Okay, we are right now using, I said Desire to Learn. They have changed their name, so it's Brightspace, but that's what we currently have our courses in. Now, when you go to the Georgia Virtual Learning site and you see the resources, you're simply seeing the modules that were built out in SoftChalk. So that's what you'll see. But in our actual delivery with through our school and through Credit Recovery, that is through Brightspace.
Okay, great. Now, you shared so much wonderful information with us today about SoftChalk, so many amazing features. What would you say is the most important for someone who's just wanting to get started?
I've still got at least Courtney, I think, with me. Courtney, do you have a preference, or Wendy, or anybody who's still here? And if not, I'll jump in and tell you something.
I'm here.
Sure.
Go ahead, Wendy.
Well, I was going to ask, and maybe Courtney, you were fixing to answer this. To me, it depends on what subject you're doing for what you're really looking for in SoftChalk. Do we have a certain subject, or I mean, is this like a first-timer? Like, if I get SoftChalk, what's the first thing I need to know about it?
Yes, first-timer.
Okay, you're going to think I'm crazy. But when I first started using SoftChalk, probably 6-7 years ago, the very first thing that I had the hardest time with was how to create a page break. And I will tell you, like, that's just, I could not figure out in SoftChalk, because it was just one big long page. I was like, how do I make it different pages? And I will say that's the #1 thing I had the hardest time with, and it's just shift and enter at the same time, and it gives you a page break. Or you can do insert page break, and that's how you get different pages. That it seems so simple and easy, but I will say that was the hardest thing for me when I first started. So that's my very #1 tip if you just start SoftChalk, how to make a page break.
Okay, great. Ladies, did anyone else have anything else to add to that? I did have another question that came in from Andrea. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would say, honestly, with SoftChalk, it's just kind of getting in and playing around with things. There are easy ways to upload materials. So go into all of those activities and just kind of check it out and see where it says add files. And then go into they'll walk you through everything. When you open up any of the activity features, it will give you an example of what it is. It will give you information on how to build it and different things that you can do with it. But that will save you a lot of time. So really just kind of getting your hands in. There's not one particular thing, but just doing as much as you can to look through it.
Okay, great. I think we have time for one more question here. It came in from Andrea. Can you tell me if SoftChalk works with Canvas?
I can't say that I've used it specifically, but the way SoftChalk works, I would probably say yes. I know that it works with Blackboard. I know that it works with Brain Honey. So being familiar with other LMS, it's really just housing it. You could actually house it in what they call SoftChalk Cloud, and then you get a URL, and then you just put the URL inside your LMS, and it links to the package, to the SoftChalk package. So without having done it, I can't tell you for certain, but I would be fairly sure it would work.
Okay, great. Ladies, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. It's been a pleasure being here with you today. I look forward to being here with you again for some future sessions.
Thanks so much. We enjoyed being here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks again, ladies.